Hey everyone, and welcome to What Did I Miss?, where today I'll be talking about all of the new information that Paramount released about the upcoming series Star Trek Strange New Worlds. This will include going into each character in depth and what history they have with the franchise. Also, I know that I usually release my Lower Decks Easter eggs videos on Thursday, but because I'm releasing this video today, I'll be releasing my Lower Decks video tomorrow. Before I get into it though, if you could leave a like on the video, I would really appreciate it, or if you want to watch first and then leave a like, that's cool. But just remember, do leave a like, as it really does help out a little channel like mine. Strange New Worlds has been the most anticipated Star Trek property since it was announced as going to series in 2020, but until Star Trek Day 2021, we really had very little information on it. A few months ago, a cast list was released that included the actors and actresses playing on the show, but no character names were attached to any of them. At the time, many like myself theorized that these actors may be playing characters that we have seen before, and that proved to be very much the case. Almost every one of these characters has some type of connection to something in Star Trek already. But first, let's talk about the three main characters and some new pieces of information that we found out about all of them as well. At Star Trek Day, each series had a panel where various cast and crew members spoke about their show, and on the Strange New Worlds panel, it was obvious that Ethan Peck was very excited for this series to release. Not because he was acting excitable, as he seemed to be pretty calm in a Spock-like zen, but the man could not stop himself from letting spoilers out every time he opened his mouth. For one, Mr. Peck seemed to divulge that Adam and Susan Nimoy, some of the surviving members of Leonard Nimoy's family who were in attendance at the event, would also be appearing on the series. I love this idea and can't wait to see if they are a part of Spock's family as well. If you recall, Sarek, Spock's father, has already been cast in this universe, as James Frayne played the character on Discovery, so while that actor has not been announced to appear as of yet, that is also a possibility. Ethan Peck also revealed that Strange New Worlds would explore the relationships between the crew members and that some were intimate. I have some thoughts about this point, and I'm going to save it until I discuss another returning character, but after Mr. Peck stated this, executive producer Akiva Goldsman, who was also on the panel and seemed to be not too happy that Mr. Peck was going into this subject, interjected and stated that we would get to see the smiling version of Spock. He was of course referring to Spock, played by Leonard Nimoy, in the pilot episode of Star Trek titled The Cage, in which Spock did smile and show emotion. This was always written off as an understandable incongruity with the character, since this was the pilot episode, and no one could know at the time that this would be the start of a franchise 55 years plus in the making. But it is cool to hear that Strange New Worlds will explore this and give credence to that performance of the character. It will also be fascinating to see how a young Spock interacts with the rest of the crew and his commanding officers, as his relationship with Pike is more like Pike is his mentor than his friend. Rebecca Romijn will be returning to the bridge of the Enterprise as well, and now we know that the character's full name is Una Chin Riley. This character also debuted in the Star Trek pilot episode and was played by Majel Barrett Roddenberry, who also played another character that is returning that I will discuss in a bit. As I have stated in prior videos, this character has been described as a mother figure to the rather young crew, and especially to Spock. I expect there to be a close relationship between the two, and for them to share many scenes together, and in fact, I can remember watching an interview about Lower Decks with Jerry O'Connell, who is Miss Romain's husband and also voices Commander Ransom on Lower Decks. During that interview, Ethan Peck actually popped in the view for a second because he and Miss Romain were working on an especially emotional scene together at their house. It is also nice that the character now has a full name, and the hyphenated last name may be hinting towards her being married at this time. The second man to captain the Enterprise, Christopher Pike, will once again be played by Anson Mount, and I am very much looking forward to his continued portrayal of the role. He is at least the fourth man to play the part, and while I did like Bruce Greenwood's performance in the movies, I really think that Anson Mount can make a huge mark as Captain Pike in the Star Trek pantheon. It also appears that the actor himself is already influencing the portrayal of the character, as executive producer Akiva Goldsman revealed that part of Captain Pike's quarters were designed based on Anson Mount's personality. Mr. Goldsman praised Anson Mount as a leader on the set, and said that he likes to lead by consensus, which means that once a decision is made, he likes to sit with everyone around a table and discuss it. Because of this, when designing the quarters for Captain Pike, Mr. Goldsman had the production team at a table that Captain Pike could sit at with members of the crew to discuss issues, and he went on to further praise Anson Mount for his influence on the role. I expect Captain Pike to be a more dutiful captain than James Kirk, who is at least 5 years away from the big chair, but I also expect him to be more down-to-earth and approachable than the captains that followed Kirk. So now let's talk about new actors playing new roles, and this first one really blew my mind when I heard it, and that is that Christina Chong will be playing a character named Laan Noonien Singh. If that name doesn't make the hair on the back of your neck stand up, you may want to check your pulse, because obviously this character is somehow related to Khan Noonien Singh, a role that first appeared on the Star Trek episode Space Seed and was then immortalized in the movie The Wrath of Khan. Having this character on the Enterprise is a lot to unpack. Since this series takes place before the events of the original series, the events that occurred then have not yet happened. But the history of this character should still remain. Khan was a genetically altered human being and started a war in the 1990s that cost thousands of lives and ended up with him and his followers being frozen and put into space. I'm extremely surprised that, given the knowledge of this, that the Noonien Singh name was even able to continue. I mean, think about it. You don't see a lot of people named Hitler walking around. But somehow, his line persevered and found its way onto the Enterprise, years before he himself would set foot on the ship. This character was rumored to be a security officer, so if this is true, it will be curious to see if she is still genetically modified in any way. And before you say that if she was, then Starfleet would not allow her to serve, they absolutely would, as it was revealed on Deep Space Nine that Dr. Bashir was genetically altered as a child, and Starfleet not only allowed him to continue serving, but tried to recruit him into the covert organization Section 31. Another character I'm really anxious to learn more about is a new one named Hemmer, and played by Bruce Horak. The character appears to not only be Andorian, but a subspecies known as Anar. They were introduced in the series Enterprise, and were distinguishable from Andorians by their pale skin, similar to that of an albino human being. But what really made them special is that some were blind, but able to communicate and see by using telepathy. Actor Bruce Horak is a blind actor, and it makes me proud to be a Star Trek fan when I see the franchise choosing to represent characters and actors responsibly with such inclusion. His position on the ship was not revealed, but he was wearing a red shirt, which would mean that he is either in security or engineering. Since there are no characters listed that will be in engineering, and the Miracle Worker is an archetype Star Trek character model, I would not be surprised if Hemmer is an engineer. Finally, from the new characters, we have Melissa Navia, who will be playing Lieutenant Erica Ortegas. This is another character that is rumored to be a security officer, and was said to have been modeled after characters like the Vasquez character from Aliens. Around the time that her casting was initially announced, it was reported that her character will be experiencing a form of PTSD that stems from her military background. The last season of Deep Space Nine dealt with wartime issues in a way that no other Star Trek had, and since the Federation will only be about a year removed from the Klingon War at the start of this series, I'm sure that these are issues that Strange New Worlds can convey through their stories as well. Now on to characters that we have seen before, but will be played by new actors, and first let's discuss Babs Osumakun as Dr. Mbega. First I want to say that on my Strange New Worlds casting video from earlier this year, many people commented that this actor could be playing this role after I missed it, and yes, you were all right. I honestly did not remember this character, but he was played by actor Booker Bradshaw on 2 episodes of the original series. The character was said to be from Uganda, and would be the chief medical officer on the Enterprise if Dr. McCoy was not on the ship. The only other canon piece of information about the character is that he served his medical internship on Vulcan, which made him a little better at solving ailments to the species than Dr. McCoy. I really like the actor they got playing the part, and I expect him to be one of the focal point characters of the series. Another member of his medical team was revealed as well when it was announced that Nurse Christine Chapel will be played by actress Jess Bush. The character has appeared in 29 episodes of the original series, as well as the animated series and 2 movies, and was the second character played by Majel Barrett Roddenberry, who was also the voice of the Enterprise, Defiant, and Voyager computers if you are not aware. This character brings a lot to the series, as she shares connections with many characters on the show. During her initial appearance on the original series, she was very vocal about her feelings towards Spock and that she was in love with him, feelings that he did not return. Given that the actor who plays Spock, Ethan Peck, stated that we would get to see what intimate relationships these characters are involved in, I think there's a good chance that we will see how their relationship develops during the series. I know that in the J.J. Abrams movie, Spock was in a relationship with Uhura, and I'm not sure that that was a decision that sat well with many fans, so the writers may be better served having Chapel and Spock create a will they won't they dynamic. Christine Chapel is also shown to be a good friend to Nyota Uhura, who will be also featured on the show and played by Cecilia Rose Gooding. Uhura is said to be a cadet when she is introduced on this series, so we will probably meet a much less confident Uhura than the one we are used to seeing. Her role along with Spock are the most iconic on the series and have the most backstory for their characters, but not much is known about Uhura before her time serving under James Kirk, so the series could do a lot with the role. Well, that was everything I have, but let me know in the comments if I missed anything or if you have any questions about the characters. They did not announce a release date for the show, but I would guess that it would be after the 2nd season of Picard concludes, but make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss on any Star Trek news when it is released. Also, don't forget I have a new video tomorrow where I go over all the Easter eggs from the latest episode of Lower Decks, which happens to be my favorite of the season so far. Thank you very much for clicking on this video. Please hit that like button if you enjoyed it, and I will see you next time on What Did I Miss?